four states' most watched news starts now.
Good morning and welcome to the KOAM Morning News. It's 5 a.m. I'm Tanya Bach. A chance of rain throughout the morning, and then you can expect it to clear off for a beautiful rest of the day. Here's Michael with a check on your forecast.
Yeah, but it's going to be cold as well, Tanya. We got thunderstorm activity up in the northern portion of the four states. Look at that amount of lightning being thrown down in our far northern counties. Now, earlier, late last night / early this morning, was a little sporadic. Most of the four states got raindrops of some form or fashion, but right now we're paying attention to everything up to the north. We have been able to avoid any severe thunderstorm warnings. We do have a flood warning in effect just up in St. Clair County. It's no surprise. We knew that's where the heaviest rain was going to be. As you move down to the south, if you have to be on the road today, everything looking good, and we will keep our eyes out in what develops in central Kansas right there. Take off the cloud cover, give a little bit of better idea exactly where that rain is, and it's coming down at a good clip. So you take that Chanute-Nevada line along Highway 54 right there and move to the north. That's where it's absolutely pouring. Our temperatures, as we've got a cold front that's going to drop in on the backside of it. You can, right now, look at that big difference between 62 in Yates Center to 70 in Chanute. We're talking about, not a whole lot of geographic difference right there, but a big drop in temperatures as the wind shifts. 66 in Neosho, let's go 68 in Miami, and 67 in Carthage. As we progress through our morning, it's going to be the opposite of what usually happens, as we're going to drop down into the low 60s by the afternoon hours and 50s overnight. Still not extremely cold, not too bad at all. 7-day forecast going to be ride the mid 60s there on Thursday. Nice little rebound on Friday. Saturday shaping up to be absolutely perfect, mid 60s and partly sunny skies. Then a little rain coming Sunday into Monday. Important thing right now is if you're headed up north, especially to the Kansas City area, and for those of you that live in our northern counties, let's go ahead and plan on some rivers being swollen, especially when we talk about the Osage, Little Osage, and the Marmaton rivers.
All right, just be aware that that's happening.
Yep.
All right, thanks, Michael. Taxes, school issues, and municipal races brought voters to the polls yesterday in some Missouri and Oklahoma communities. We start in Nevada, Missouri, where a couple of school issues were on the ballot. Both received more than 4/7 majority needed to pass. $13.75 million proposal will increase property taxes to fund school repairs throughout the district. It passed by more than 2-to-1 margin. Also on the ballot in Carl Junction, a proposal to impose a use tax on some out-of-state purchases equal to the current local sales tax. It would have applied when annual purchases exceed $2,000, but more than 60% of voters said no to that idea. Voters in Neosho, Missouri narrowly rejected a similar use tax proposal. The vote was 468 no to 438 yes. We'll have more area election results throughout the morning. You can also find all of these results and many more on our website at koamnewsnow.com/elections. A liberal Missouri man is charged with first-degree involuntary manslaughter after a fatal crash in February. Missouri Highway Patrol said 44-year-old Ryan O'Neill drove a pickup southbound on Highway 43, 2 miles north of Joplin. And then O'Neill crashed head-on into an SUV driven by 23-year-old Sevi Davison of Oronogo. Davison was pronounced dead at Mercy Hospital. At last report, authorities had not yet arrested O'Neill. He will face a $50,000 cash bond on that involuntary manslaughter charge. 3 teenage girls have run away from an undisclosed location in Jasper County. The missing girls are 14-year-old Alexis Crawford of Phelps County, Missouri, 16-year-old Morgan Holderman of Clay County, Missouri, and 14-year-old Jasmine Marie Holliday of Putnam County, Missouri. Jasper County Sheriff's Office is currently working to find them. Jasper County Sheriff Randy Kaiser says they have detectives following up on leads based on sightings of the girls.
It's providing some information on other, possible leads that we can follow up on. And that's really where we're at right now, is just trying to, find acquaintances and friends of where they might be at and going to those locations and looking for them.
Sheriff's Department has been in contact with the families of the missing teens to get information on possible leads. They're mainly trying to reach out to friends and acquaintances of the missing teens. The 3 girls are believed to be together, and anyone with information should call 911 or the Jasper County Sheriff's Office. Joplin Police Department releases its annual report, which shows crime is down overall in the city. Chief Roland Sloan says they saw an overall 9% drop in crime in 2020. 2 of the biggest drops were traffic related. There were increases in violent crime in the city, such as homicides and assault. However, there was a decrease in reports of domestic violence, which has caused concern.
Several national schools have thought on that, or whether they're being reported as much as they were before or coming into the light, like with, being locked at home. A lot of people aren't seeing as many incidents of child abuse and domestic violence and things as when they're going to school or they're out in the public.
Officials say if you or someone you know is in a domestic violence situation, you should contact local law enforcement or an agency like the Lafayette House for help. It's been a year since Missouri's stay-at-home order took effect, April 6, 2020. Statewide stay-at-home order went into effect, closing most public businesses in response to the pandemic. City of Joplin's local stay-at-home order went into effect a year ago as well to align with the state order. But Mayor Ryan Stanley says, looking back, it may have been done too soon.
Because we went to one where the risk really wasn't near as significant as it was going to be later on, that we now know was going to be later on. But at the same time, there was just so much uncertainty. And remember, we're going to stop the spread, or we're going to flatten the curve, and we thought this would be temporary when it really was not.
When the Missouri stay-at-home order was put into place, there were just under 3,000 confirmed cases and just under 50 deaths in the state. Orders were lifted on May 3rd, just under a month after the shutdown started. It's 5:07.
Kind of looking out so far, thunderstorm activity. When I say that, I mean, I know the northern portion, all of you up there, I know you're getting pounded on by the thunderstorms. Look at all that lightning coming up as well. Majority of the 4 states right now staying out of the fray. Our temperatures are going to drop, however, as we start off in the 60s, but instead of warming up today, we've actually got a cold front on the backside of it. You can tell we're kind of stable in the mid-60s there, then falling down to the 50s, if not high 40s overnight. Put future track in the motion after we kind of clear this out. We do have a chance for showers just to maintain through the afternoon hours. Look at that counterclockwise motion, spins around on itself, good indicator of a low pressure system. And then we get a nice little rebound here on Thursday and Friday. Temperature's not too bad. Saturday's shaping up to be absolutely wonderful. Mid-60s, partly sunny skies. And then a warming trend on Sunday. And then a big cold front taking us down from the mid-70s all the way to the low 60s for next Monday and Tuesday. Yeah, that's going to come get us right there.
Not going to lie, I was digging the temperatures in the 70s yesterday.
Oh, no, and right now, minus if you're not in the far north, it's a nice morning out there right now.
It is. It's not too bad. It was pretty windy yesterday.
Yeah, it was. I tried to take a trip east-west. It was a long trip.
I like that. I tried to take a trip.
It was just like constantly like this.
Oh, yeah, that's no fun. That's never fun. All right, thanks, Michael. That's a look at this morning's top stories in weather in our first 7 minutes. Coming up on the KOAM Morning News, Joplin track athlete Donovan Fowler aims to make history and continue at the next level. We'll hear from Donovan on how he plans to keep making history. Plus, clinical trials involving dogs with cancer, how they're helping treatments for humans. And it's National Beer Day. For our Something to Talk About, we're asking, do you drink beer? And if so, what's your favorite brew? You're watching the KOAM Morning News. More real news in the morning. We'll be right back. First, before we come back, we'll have more election results in your area.
Yesterday, day 2 of the Bill O'Dell baseball tournament in Carthage, where the tournament host Tigers had the first day off on Monday, now on the field for their first game of the week against Monette. We're going to start with runners on first and second for Canaan Vogt. Bottom of 1, Vogt, empty space in left center. He finds it. Nate Norbury and Caden Krolacek both come in to score. Carthage up 2-0 after 1 frame. Next inning, Caden R. on the mound for Carthage. Oh, no, you didn't. That was filthy. 2-0. Second inning, big one at the plate for the Tigers. Vogt with the bases loaded. Down the left field line. All 3 runners come in to score, pushes the lead to 6. Grant Collier says, "Yep, that spot looks productive to me as well." Plenty of offense. Carthage wins this thing at 17-7. Into Pittsburgh now, an SEK rivalry matchup between the Purple Dragons and Fort Scott Tigers. Top of 1, Eli Kellogg shoots it right back up the middle. RBI groundout brings home Spencer Goldston. Tigers are up early. Bottom of 1. That dude, Braden Benson, my boy, past the pitcher. Benson beats it though to first. Brandon Freeman scores 2-2 after 1 inning. In the 4th, Cole Jamison, nice bunt right there. Throw to first, offline. Ethan Rhodes scores. And then Jacob Linehan draws a throw to third. And Linehan says, "I'm going to take advantage of it." Pittsburgh pulls away, wins it 12-2. Congratulations to Keith Matlock, his 100th career win for the Pittsburgh Purple Dragons. Pittsburgh State Gorillas on the road last night against Washburn, a league opponent, but technically this was a non-conference game. Gorillas win it 11-1. Dawson Pomeroy, 2 for 4 with the home run and a pair of RBIs. Joplin track athlete Donovan Fowler put his name in the record books, and he's just a junior. Now aiming to keep making history and earn a shot to continue his career at the next level.
It did not take long for Donovan Fowler to make school history.
I thought it would at least take a few meets to get up there. I didn't think it would happen so quickly.
Fowler won the long jump in Joplin's first meet of the season last Thursday with a jump of 23 feet, 10 inches. That mark smashes the previous school record by 15 inches.
We knew he was going to hit some big jumps this year. We knew that he would probably break that record, probably break more records, but to see it the first meet of the year, that was awesome to see.
COVID-19 erased his sophomore track season in 2020. Fowler is hoping to use this year to break more records and get the attention of college programs.
Last season, I didn't get that option, so I'm really trying to make the most of the opportunities that I'm getting right now.
Last year as a sophomore, we were hoping to have a big season for him, but you lose that season, and so I think he's hungry and he's ready to kind of make up for that lost season.
While he's already made history, Fowler wants more.
His goals are bigger than right here. So, winning the Carthage Invitational isn't the end of the road for him. He's competing against people all across the nation, so we're comparing his marks week in, week out to people all over the nation.
He hopes to earn the opportunity to compete after high school before turning around and helping the next generation break records of their own.
I'm trying to just take it as far as I can, whether it be long and triple or just one or the other. And after that, I'm just going to try to help kids become the best jumpers that they can be.
Joplin in action on Friday at the Pittsburgh State Invitational before hosting their own Invitational next week. Still to come on the KOAM Morning News, a campaign to celebrate the spirit of Captain Tom Moore.
It's the latest celebrity charity challenge. I'm Ian Lee with why this one will get you counting to 100.
And to check on our 7-day forecast when the KOAM Morning News returns. Rolling up about 20 after the hour here on this Wednesday morning with thunderstorm activity in the far northern portion of the 4 states. A little slight rain down to the south, but we're going to concentrate on this because of the extreme amount of lightning that this system is throwing down right now. As a matter of fact, torrential rainfall from that Nevada-Iola line takes just Highway 54 right there, move up to the north. That's going to be sustained here for the next several hours. Give you an idea of the regional perspective as we look at the cold front that's now pushing just on the other side of Wichita, big low pressure on the bottom of the trough of the jet stream. And so our temperature is about as good as they're going to get right now. We'll actually dip as we progress through the morning hours. So you look at current conditions. Oh, don't you freeze on me now. You know how she likes to do that when we get thunderstorms. 68 in Joplin, 67 in Pittsburgh, and anywhere from 63 to 70 in Chanute. Now, here's what's going to happen. You get up to those high 60s right there, you know, whether it be Chanute, whether it be Neodesha, something like that, it's going to go about, just drop down about 5-6 degrees when the system does roll through. Everything in the eastern portion of southwest Missouri is actually going to be a delightful morning the far southeast that you go, because you're going to be the last ones to get that wind shift as it works in from the west right there. But eventually, as it kind of transitions, it is going to be a little bit blustery. We're picking up gusts of 36 miles per hour right now. So hang on out there. Now this is the rain up to the north. It's going to last for the next several hours, and our temperature is going to drop down to the low 60s around the noon hour. We'll get a chance to calm down overnight. Thursday, we're just looking at shower activity, no thunderstorms. And then Friday night into Saturday, some additional thunderstorms, even with our warm temps on Friday. And Saturday, not looking too bad. Mostly sunny skies, high around 65. Turn our attention now to the KOAM News Now Facebook page, as it happens to be National Beer Day, and whether your beer choice is on the lighter side or perhaps a hoppy IPA, National Beer Day is on April 7th because in 1933, the Cullen-Harrison Act went into law. Measure made sure the selling of low alcoholic beverages like beer and wine was legal in the U.S. once again. Our question to you: if you drink beer, what is your favorite kind of brew? You can leave us a message on the KOAM News Now Facebook page or our Insta poll, KOAMnewsnow.com/vote. Be back with Health Watch next.
Topping Health Watch, we know there are many benefits to having a pet, and studies show animals can help their owners increase their exercise, lower stress, and decrease loneliness. But clinical trials involving dogs with cancer could improve treatments for humans too. Mandy Gaither explains.
At Ohio State University, researchers at the Blue Buffalo Veterinary Clinical Trials Office are working to help sick pets and potentially sick humans. Video of the research being done here was taken before the pandemic, but still continues today. Several trials are currently underway, including one involving the drug neratinib, FDA approved for the treatment of breast and lung cancer in humans. Researchers here say they've determined half of canine lung cancers carry the same gene mutations they do in humans. The treatment is given to dogs that already have cancer. Other cancer therapies are also being studied.
There also are some new chemotherapy drugs on the horizon that have shown some really interesting results in our dogs with naturally occurring cancers that have both relevance to treating our veterinary patients better, but also helping improve the treatment of people with the same types of cancers.
Dr. Sarah Moore says the research conducted in clinical trials is critical to fight cancer and other diseases in animals and humans.
The possibilities are really endless in terms of where things can go from here.
For Health Minute, I'm Mandy Gaither.
Blue Buffalo Veterinary Clinical Trials Office also treats pets with other diseases like osteoarthritis, diabetes, even an illness similar to ALS. A new technology known as digital breast tomosynthesis, or DBT, can reduce the rate of interval breast cancer. That's often aggressive cancer that develops between routine screenings. A study published in Radiology found DBT to be a better tool than traditional digital mammography. People with coronary artery disease are 3 times more likely to have diabetes compared to those who are not heart patients, and that's according to a new study published in the European Journal of Preventive Cardiology. It found nearly 30% of patients with heart disease also had diabetes, compared to just 9% of the general population. Doctors warn those with both medical issues have a higher rate of death, saying this is a reminder to eat healthy and exercise. Researchers at the University of Washington have developed a vaccination model they say would prevent a substantial number of COVID deaths. Their model prioritizes vaccinations based on risk of death and includes 10 factors such as sex, age, race, and body mass index. Researchers estimate that by the time half the population is vaccinated, their model would result in 22% fewer COVID deaths than the phased approach recommended by the CDC. That's a look at some of today's top health stories. You're watching the KOAM Morning News.
Starting to pick up a fair amount of lightning right now along I-49 just north of Nevada to go with the heavy rainfall and the cooler temperatures on the backside of it. Everybody pretty much sitting mid-60s right now, and matter of fact, we've even seen 70 degrees in Chanute, but temperatures will fall throughout the course of our morning. Little rain trying to come down in northeast Oklahoma as well. That's certainly nothing severe, kind of keeping all eyes to the north. 7-day forecast after we clear off this afternoon and evening. Overnight lows dropping down into the 40s, and of course you can always find the latest on the Skywatch weather app.
Four-staters make their voices heard in municipal election day. We'll have the latest results. Plus, police ask for the public's help in finding 3 missing teens in Joplin. And the Joplin Police Department releases its annual crime report, why officials say they're concerned about a decrease in domestic violence reports.
The 4 states' most watched news starts now.
Good morning and welcome to the KOAM Morning News. It's 5:30. I'm Tanya Bach. Parts of the 4 states are seeing a lot of rain and storms this morning. Others, not so much. Here's Michael with a check on your forecast.
Thank you, Tanya. We're going to go north, then south. Let's concentrate on the thunderstorm activity here, ranging just north of Nevada all the way to the north of Kansas City, and we'll throw on the lightning tracker. This thing has been rather impressive this morning as it continues to not only bring us torrential rainfall, but also to high winds associated with it, wind gusts up to 36, 37 miles per hour. Now as we transition down to the south, and we're starting to pick up lightning and heavy rain in the Miami area. This just now developing here in the last several minutes. It will continue to increase, and we're not done because everything's going to take a counterclockwise motion, so we will have showers throughout the rest of the day. As far as our watches and warnings go, we do have a flood advisory up in Coffee County in the far northwestern portion of the 4 states. We have been able to stay out of wind advisories so far, but the wind is shifting on us instead of coming in from the south. As you work out to the west, we do see a little northerly push that is going to cool us off. Iowa now down to 54 degrees. They were at 65 just about half an hour ago. So the cold front is going to present itself quickly, to say the least, as we push through Future Track and look at our rain for today. Really about, say, 9, 10 o'clock, we'll be done with the severe weather, but the showers remain for the afternoon and try to stick around even through the nighttime hours. And really not too bad after that. Thursday rain that we do see early in the morning is just going to be shower activity. We'll lose the lightning. Back up into the 70s for Friday, and a really nice looking Saturday with mostly sunny skies, mild, and mid-60s.
Not too bad. I mean, 60 degrees is going to be colder, but not bad at all.
Not bad in all things considered. And I know this is of no solace to everybody from Nevada up to the north. Highway 54 really going north of that from even Fort Scott. I know you're getting pounded this morning. At the same point in time, we've been able to escape any severe thunderstorm warnings, so we'll call that a good thing this time of year.
There you go. All right, always something, you got to look at the silver lining there.
Thank you, ma'am.
All right, thanks, Michael. Taxes, school issues, and municipal races brought voters to the polls yesterday in some Missouri and Oklahoma communities. We start in Nevada, Missouri, where a couple of school issues were on the ballot. Both received more than 4/7 majority needed to pass. A $13.75 million proposal will increase property taxes to fund school repairs throughout the district. It passed by more than 2-to-1 margin. Also on the ballot, in Carl Junction, a proposal to impose a use tax on some out-of-state purchases equal to the current local sales tax. It would have applied when annual purchases exceed $2,000, but more than 60% of voters said no to that idea. Voters in Neosho, Missouri narrowly rejected a similar use tax proposal. The vote was 468 no to 438 yes. We'll have more area election results throughout the morning, and you can also find all of these results and many more on our website at koamnewsnow.com/elections. A liberal Missouri man is charged with first-degree involuntary manslaughter after a fatal crash in February. Missouri Highway Patrol said 44-year-old Ryan O'Neill drove a pickup southbound on Highway 43, 2 miles north of Joplin, and then O'Neill crashed head-on into an SUV driven by 23-year-old Sevy Davison of Oronogo. Davison was pronounced dead at Mercy Hospital. At last report, authorities had not yet arrested O'Neill. He will face a $50,000 cash bond on that involuntary manslaughter charge. 3 teenage girls have run away from an undisclosed location in Jasper County. The missing girls are 14-year-old Alexis Crawford of Phelps County, 16-year-old Morgan Holderman of Clay County, and 14-year-old Jasmine Marie Holiday of Putnam County, all in Missouri. The Jasper County Sheriff's Office is currently working to find them. Jasper County Sheriff Randy Kaiser says they have detectives following up on leads based on sightings of the girls.
It's providing some information on other, possible leads that we can follow up on. And that's really where we're at right now, is just trying to, find acquaintances and friends of where they might be at and going to those locations and looking for them.
The Sheriff's Department has been in contact with the families of the missing teens to get information on possible leads. They're mainly trying to reach out to friends and acquaintances of the missing teens. The 3 girls are believed to be together. Anyone with information should call 911 or the Jasper County Sheriff's Office. Joplin Police Department releases its annual report, which shows crime is down overall in the city. Chief Roland Sloan says they saw an overall 9% drop in crime in 2020. 2 of the biggest drops were traffic related. There were increases in violent crime in the city, such as homicides and assaults. However, there was a decrease in reports of domestic violence, which has caused concern.
Several national schools have thought on that, or whether they're being reported as much as they were before or coming into the light, like with, being locked at home. A lot of people aren't seeing as many incidents of child abuse and domestic violence and things as when they're going to school or they're out in the public.
Officials say if you or someone you know is in a domestic violence situation, you should contact local law enforcement or an agency like the Lafayette House for help. It's been exactly a year since the beginning of the stay-at-home order in Missouri, and that action closed down bars, small businesses, and hair salons for a month, forcing them to think outside the box to stay afloat. KOAM's Zach Dodge has how a local salon has gotten back on its feet since then, and why Joplin's mayor thinks the shutdown may have happened too soon.
Creating beautiful transformations when people need them most. That's Kaden Connis's favorite part of being a stylist.
I love the finishing product and just getting to talk with them and get to know them and build a relationship.
It's something she's done for the past 2 years, but a year ago, her world got turned upside down.
Corona was a lot. It was very hard.
Right at a year ago, the stay-at-home order went into effect in Missouri, shutting down small businesses, restaurants, gyms, and salons across the state. That included Halo Salon in Carthage.
We shut down after we had just expanded, and so it was kind of a fear of, okay, how long are we going to be closed? What does this look like for our business long term?
We knew it was on the East Coast. We knew it was on the West Coast, so we knew it was coming to us.
The city of Joplin signed their own stay-at-home order to align with the state's, something Mayor Ryan Stanley now thinks may have been premature.
Because we went to one where the risk really wasn't near as significant as it was going to be later on, that we now know was going to be later on. But at the same time, there was just so much uncertainty.
After a few extensions at the state and local levels, orders lifted at the beginning of May, and stylists at Halo could get back to work.
It was intense. I mean, they were ready to come back, so we had a great May.
And now they're busier than they've ever been.
Actually, in March, we had almost doubled our numbers from any other time that we've ever done.
Hearing about what they went through and just talking to them about everything, and yeah, it's been really nice.
In Carthage and Joplin, Zach Dodge, KOAM News.
At the time the statewide stay-at-home order was put into place, there were just under 3,000 confirmed cases and just under 50 deaths in the state. That's a look at our top news stories coming up this half hour on the KOAM Morning News. We get a preview of some upcoming workshops from the Wildcat Extension District, plus a charity challenge in honor of Captain Tom Moore that will get you counting to 100. But first, it's 5:37.
Here's where our thunderstorm activity stands on this Wednesday morning. South, also picking up down in northeast Oklahoma, but we're really going to concentrate on the north with the amount of torrential rainfall and the lightning that is increasing as we make our way towards sunrise and the 7-day forecast with temperatures dropping. Be back with more KOAM Morning News, but first, a look at 4 state election results.
Topping World Watch, a host of celebrities are helping kick off a campaign to celebrate the generous spirit of Captain Tom Moore, the 100-year-old British veteran who died of COVID this year. CBS's Ian Lee is in London with more on the 100 Charity Challenge.
Captain Tom Moore stepped up during the darkness of the pandemic, walking laps around his backyard to raise more than $53 million for the UK's National Health Service and inspiring millions around the world.
So together we can continue.
Now Captain Tom's family wants the 100-year-old's legacy to march on.
Invent your challenge around the number 100. And you imagine if he was still here, he would just be thinking this was the best thing ever. 39.
They teamed up with everyday folks
53.
and some famous faces, including actress Judi Dench and soccer star David Beckham.
Last year, Captain Tom inspired us all
and filled the world with hope.
The challenge will play out over what would have been his 101st birthday.
So whatever you can do it 100 times to help raise money for charity.
You can do anything for the challenge, like bake 100 cakes, do 100 push-ups, or simply walk 100 steps. 1, 2, 3. Just make sure you don't pick something too difficult to complete.
This is not easy.
Captain Tom's grandson recommends to just keep it fun.
This is your opportunity to do something absolutely joyous when we're just coming out of this pandemic.
And remember, it's not just about getting to 100, but ensuring, as Captain Tom used to say, tomorrow will be a good day. Ian Lee, CBS News, London.
If you want to take part in the challenge, you can post your journey on social media with the hashtag CaptainTom100. That's a look at some of your biggest headlines from around the world. Let's toss it over to Michael for our Something to Talk About.
Thank you, Tanya. Today happens to be National Beer Day. So whether that beer of choice on the lighter side or a hoppy IPA, you'll raise a glass to your favorite pint. Our question is, do you drink beer? And if you do, what is your fave? We'll start with Michael Arrowwood. Michael owns 2 beer and liquor stores. He says, unfortunately, I cannot drink beer or liquor anymore. Definitely makes my life unmanageable. So he's got a shout out to Rocky Cunningham. He's like, drink one for me, Rock, and love you, Mandy. Travis Henry likes craft brews. Indian Springs Brewing Company in Neosho is his go-to. Also enjoys a little Boulevard out of KC and several of the small ones in Northwest Arkansas. Speaking of Rocky Cunningham, just flashback to the 80s. Remember when we were all friends and did that on weekends? Roy Brooks says, no thanks. I'm a year and a half sober, much better life. And Roy, congratulations. That is awesome, man. Michelle Pacini, morning KOM and Mama. Morning, Michelle. She said, never liked beer, but Michelle says, played my share of quarters in my young years. Only way I could drink this stuff is fast. Saying that, not sure I have a memory of some of them. It's good because here's the thing. It's not that we know you, but it's like we do know each other, you know, because of the engagement on Facebook and the wonderful messages and the fact that you join us each and every morning. You folks probably feel like you know me and Tanya a little bit. Tanya and I feel like we know you a little bit. I did not see this one coming from Michelle. Not gonna lie to you, I didn't see that one coming. That's great. But lawn mowing weather, Michelle. Lawn mowing weather, absolutely. We'll be back with more KOAM Morning News right after this.
Check out today's top headlines, the news you need to know before you head out the door. President Biden moved the deadline requiring states to allow all adults to qualify for coronavirus vaccines from May 1st to April 19th. 150 million doses have been administered so far in the U.S. 80% of teachers, school staff, and child care workers have received at least one dose. The president also toured a vaccination site in Virginia. A liberal Missouri man is charged with first-degree involuntary manslaughter after a fatal crash in February. Missouri Highway Patrol said 44-year-old Ryan O'Neill drove a pickup southbound on Highway 43 2 miles north of Joplin. And that O'Neill crashed head-on into an SUV driven by 23-year-old Sevy Davison of Oronogo. Davison was pronounced dead at Mercy Hospital. At last report, authorities had not yet arrested O'Neill. He'll face a $50,000 cash bond on that involuntary manslaughter charge. 3 teenage girls have run away from an undisclosed location in Jasper County. The missing girls are 14-year-old Alexis Crawford of Phelps County, 16-year-old Morgan Holderman of Clay County, and 14-year-old Jasmine Marie Holliday of Putnam County. Jasper County Sheriff's Office is currently working to find them. Jasper County Sheriff Randy Kaiser says they have detectives following up on leads based on sightings of the girls. And the Joplin Police Department releases its annual report, which shows crime is down overall in the city. Chief Roland Sloan says they saw an overall 9% drop in crime in 2020. 2 of the biggest drops were traffic related. There were increases in violent crime in the city, such as homicides and assaults. However, there was a decrease in reports of domestic violence, which has caused concern. That's a check of today's top headlines, the news you need to know before you head out the door.
Skywatch storm tracker showing the lightning with the thunderstorm activity from Highway 54 up to the north. Now look at what happens when we put this on the last 15 minutes. Whoo! Yeah, it's coming down good. We're also picking it up right along I-44 in between Miami and Joplin. We'll be back right after this. Welcome back to the KOM Morning News on this Wildcat Wednesday. Coming off of what was a tumultuous 2020, a lot of people, though, did find perhaps new hobbies. And some of those may have included anything from sheep to goats to chickens. Well, on this Wildcat Wednesday, we're fortunate enough to be joined by Donovan Fowler. She's from the K-State Extension District, Wildcat District. Donovan, thank you so much for joining us. Great to see you again, albeit virtually. And as you and I were talking beforehand, it's not only, friends, but it's also family that I have that found during the pandemic that maybe they had other hobbies, other interests. What have you seen from the Extension District and your work as far as people becoming more enamored or interested in livestock?
Yeah, over this past year with the pandemic, more people were spending time at home, and that got them looking into new hobbies, as you mentioned before. So some folks started to raise sheep and goats and also chickens, because those are some great options of animals that you can really have on any size acreage. Chickens you can even keep in town.
Well, and that's where K-State Research and Extension really comes into play, and how important you are to these people that have taken on these animals now, because you've got a great seminar coming up this week, April the 8th at 6 p.m. It's called Hitting the Target, and I kind of want to capitalize upon 3 different things that you're going to cover. Number 1, now that I've got these animals, and this is for the veterans who have done it as well. Now that I've got these animals, number 1, I need to be looking out for parasites.
Yes, definitely. Especially this time of year, the warm weather is great. I know I love the springtime weather and being outside. However, unfortunately, the parasites also love the warmer weather and the spring rains that we're going to be having. So you're going to have a lot more problems with parasites with your sheep and goat herds this time of year. So Dr. Allison Crane, who's the sheep and goat specialist with K-State, she'll be joining us to talk about parasite control and management and what those sheep and goat owners need to be doing to help minimize the effect of parasites on their herd.
And also, curiously enough, this is something that's on obviously everybody's mind right now, vaccines. But we also, while we're all worried about vaccines, we've also got to make sure that our animals are vaccinated.
Yes, as you mentioned, vaccines and vaccinating has been kind of a hot topic lately. We're taking a slightly different angle on it, though, and talking about vaccines related to sheep and goat management and also vaccine handling. Some vaccines have to stay refrigerated and below a certain temperature. So when you're out working animals, it's important to take a cooler or something with you to still maintain that temperature as best as possible.
And you have a wonderful Facebook page with all that information. And like Donovan said, if you can't make it in person, you do a wonderful job with virtual meetings as well. Donovan Fowler from the K-State Wildcat District. Donovan, thank you so much. It's great to see you again. I tell you what, I got a quick question for you. Can you join us? Can you join us a little bit later?
Yes, I can definitely do that.
I've got chicken questions for you. Okay?
Okay, sounds
All right.
good.
David's going to join us here coming up in just a little bit. We'll be back with more KOAM morning news right after this. Here's where our thunderstorm activity is on this Wednesday morning. Take Highway 54, work up to the north. Fair amount of lightning. Fair probably been an understatement. That's a lot of lightning. Then we're going to drop down here in between Joplin and Miami along I-44. We'll take off the lightning tracker. Look at that little pocket right there. Creeping its way through Crawford County and into Jasper County, Missouri. So that's one to keep our eyes on. Everything down through northeast Oklahoma, slowly making its way toward Miami as well. So it's going to be a little bit of a wet affair here. Central portion of the 4 states kind of lucking out so far. Minus the light rain that we had overnight, not a whole lot of action there. Temperatures ranging anywhere from the 70s that we saw in Chanute. Still have 70 right there. But look at the big difference. Iowa all the way down to 54. So it gives you an idea when that cold front drops through how our temperatures are going to move in the negative direction through the rest of the morning into the afternoon hours. Get a chance to clear off here and turn those into showers just for the afternoon. We'll be back right after this.
Four staters make their voices heard in municipal election day. We'll have the latest results. Plus, police ask for the public's help in finding 3 missing teens in Joplin. And the Joplin Police Department releases its annual crime report, why officials say they're concerned about a decrease in domestic violence reports.
The 4 states' most watched news starts now.
Good morning and welcome to the KOAM Morning News at 6 a.m. I'm Tanya Bach. We've got a chance of rain throughout the morning and parts of the 4 states are getting quite a bit of it. Here's Michael with a check on your forecast.
Yeah, not only the rain, Tanya, but also too the lightning. Here's what we've got up to the north on the line from Highway 54 leading up to the north side of Kansas City. There's your lightning tracker. Now it is starting to lighten up here as we push off to the west, but at the same point in time, we have a flood advisory in effect for Coffee County up in the northwestern portion of the 4 states. Want to go back to the radar and pay attention to what's developing along northeast Oklahoma and now making its way across the Kansas-Missouri state line as we've got just that one little pocket right there, but that's coming down at a good clip as well. It's had a little lightning associated with it as it makes its way toward Joplin. Temperatures, for the most part, in the 60s, but it's going to drop on the backside of it as we've seen places like Iola and Yates Center now drop down to 55 and 58 respectively. So please know that it's going to have a little chill in the air by the time we get to the afternoon hours. After the thunderstorm activity is done, say about 9, 10 o'clock, then we shift into showers because this thing's got counterclockwise rotation on it. Have not picked up any storm reports as of yet, and we have looked out in the fact that we have not picked up any severe thunderstorm warnings.
That's good. Good that we're not getting the severe stuff, that's for sure.
Yeah, for this time of year, you know, we knew it was going to rain today, but really so far so good.
All right. Hopefully it stays that way. All right, thanks, Michael. Taxes, school issues, and municipal races brought voters to the polls yesterday in some Missouri and Oklahoma communities. We're going to start in Nevada, Missouri, where a couple of school issues were on the ballot, and both received more than the 4/7 majority needed to pass. $13.75 million proposal will increase property taxes to fund school repairs throughout the district. It passed by more than 2-to-1 margin. Also on the ballot in Carl Junction, a proposal to impose a use tax on some out-of-state purchases equal to the current local sales tax. It would have applied when annual purchases exceed $2,000, but more than 60% of voters said no to that idea. Voters in Neosho, Missouri narrowly rejected a similar use tax proposal. The vote there was 468 no to 438 yes. In Barton County, voters in the Central Township Road District approved a proposed property tax to pay for road maintenance. We'll have more area election results in the next half hour. You can also find all of these results and many more on our website at koamnewsnow.com/elections. A liberal Missouri man is charged with first-degree involuntary manslaughter after a fatal crash in February. Missouri Highway Patrol said 44-year-old Ryan O'Neill drove a pickup southbound on Highway 43, 2 miles north of Joplin. And that O'Neill crashed head-on into an SUV driven by 23-year-old Sevy Davison of Oronogo. Davison was pronounced dead at Mercy Hospital. At last report, authorities had not yet arrested O'Neill. He'll face a $50,000 cash bond on that involuntary manslaughter charge. 3 teens in Jasper County are reported missing, and the Jasper County Sheriff's Office is trying to find them. KOAM's Bronte Sorotsky spoke with the Jasper County Sheriff and a worried family member.
3 teens have run away from an undisclosed location in Jasper County. The girls have been identified as 14-year-old Alexis Crawford, 16-year-old Morgan Holderman, and 14-year-old Jasmine Marie Holiday. The teens were last seen on April 3rd at a Yesway on 7th and State Line. The Jasper County Sheriff's Office is currently searching for these girls.
We have detectives that are working on following up on leads from some locations that they have been seen at since they ran away, and the basically trying to track down their whereabouts through following up on those leads.
They've been in contact with the missing teens' families, which has led them to other possible leads of the girls' whereabouts. The teens are believed to be together in the Jasper County area.
Well, it's providing some information on other, possible leads that we can follow up on. And that's really where we're at right now, is just trying to, find acquaintances and friends of where they might be at and going to those locations and looking for them.
Sammy Crawford, the aunt of Alexis Crawford, asks anyone with knowledge of the missing girls to reach out to the Jasper County Sheriff's Office or the teens' families.
Want anyone who sees her, anyone who has contact with her, to reach out to law enforcement, to family, and let us know, because we're all worried sick, and she's not a bad girl. She's an amazing kid, and she has such a good heart.
Crawford adds her family has been searching themselves, utilizing social media.
We've tried reaching out on social media to try to get a hold of her in case she's logged on to social media throughout different platforms, and we're just hoping for the best.
The Jasper County Sheriff's Office says the public should be on the lookout for the missing teens, and if they spot them, to report it to local authorities. In Jasper County, Bronte Sorotsky, KOAM News.
If you have any information about the missing girls, you should contact the Jasper County Sheriff's Office. Joplin Police Department releases its annual report, which shows crime is down overall in the city. Chief Roland Sloan says they saw an overall 9% drop in crime in 2020. 2 of the biggest drops were traffic related. There were increases in violent crime in the city, such as homicides and assaults. However, there was a decrease in reports of domestic violence, which has caused concern.
National schools have thought on that, or whether they're being reported as much as they were before or coming into the light, like with, being locked at home. A lot of people aren't seeing as many incidents of child abuse and domestic violence and things as when they're going to school or they're out in the public.
Officials say if you or someone you know is in a domestic violence situation, you should contact local law enforcement or an agency like the Lafayette House for help. 6:07.
Still monitoring the rain up to the north, thunderstorm activity with lightning starting to taper off just a little bit. So that's a good sign right there. We do have a flood advisory for Coffee County. Let's zoom in on this one headed toward Joplin right here, making its way right across the Cherokee-Jasper County line. So that's going to progress to the east through Joplin and into Carthage. It's a small little pocket, but it's coming down at a pretty good rate right there. Temperatures in the mid-60s are going to fall throughout the morning, get down into the low 60s, if not high 50s by the time we get to the noon hour. And then we'll take our thunderstorms and replace it just with some April showers here that are not going to be widespread, rather scattered, but not severe as we progress through the late morning hours.
That's a look at this morning's top stories and weather in our first 7 minutes. Coming up on the KOAM Morning News, it is Wildcat Wednesday, and we get a look at some upcoming workshops hosted by the Wildcat Extension Office and a new vaccination timeline. Plus, drive-thrus are seeing their first boom since the 70s as people look for contactless ways to access their favorite restaurants. You're watching the KOAM Morning News. More real news in the morning. We'll be right back, but first, a few more election results in your area. In Money Watch this morning, drive-thrus are seeing their first big boom since the 1970s. It's happening because of the coronavirus pandemic, as many people are looking for contactless ways to get food from their favorite restaurants. Lydia Hugh has more on the trend.
Drive-thrus are having a moment now that we're coming out of the pandemic. More restaurants are adding them. Here at the Clinton Station Diner in Clinton, New Jersey, they just added this drive-thru. You order here, you pull up a few feet, and you pay at this pay station where Miss Ellie is manning the cash register today. And then you pull around to an assigned parking spot, and that's where you wait for your food to be delivered to you car side. You know, during the pandemic, there was a craving from customers for good eats, but they didn't want the human contact, and so they sought out restaurants more and more that offered drive-through experiences. But it wasn't just for the fast food restaurants. Soon, places like this Clinton Station Diner saw they could also serve this segment of the dining population. The owner says the drive-through has been installed here since February, and they're already seeing additional profit being brought through the door, and that makes them optimistic for the future. And in just a moment's notice, thank you very much. Our food delivered to the car, eggs over easy and bacon. You know, experts say that having a drive-through can bring about 10 to 30% of sales for most restaurants, and some big chains are taking note, with Starbucks saying that they have plans to bring drive-throughs to more of their locations across the South and the Central United States. And also Chipotle, in the last quarter of 2020, they also added more drive-throughs, about 70% of their new locations.
Well, ketchup is the latest consumer good to be squeezed by the pandemic.
You said it, not me.
I know. The most popular brand, Heinz, says it can't keep up with the demand for individually wrapped packets. Shortage began when people began ordering more takeout meals from restaurants. Heinz says it will increase its condiment production by about 25% this year. Getting squeezed. Starbucks coffee is getting greener. The company is launching a new trial program called Borrow a Cup to celebrate Earth Month. Customers can get their drinks in a reusable cup and then return it to a store's contactless kiosk or through an at-home pickup service called Ridwell. For a $1 refundable deposit, customers can order a newly designed cup. When they're finished, customers scan and drop off their cup. They then use the Starbucks app to get a $1 credit plus 10 bonus stars. Starbucks says each borrowed cup can replace up to 30 disposable cups. The trial program will run at 5 Seattle stores through the end of May. Interesting. That's it for Money Watch. Let's toss it over to Michael for our forecast.
Tanya, why do I feel like I'm like in elementary school and Starbucks is giving me stars? I feel like I have a chart. Yeah, and then like Michael gets a gold star. He returned his cup today.
You have 10 stars. Now you get a prize.
Extra recess time. Yay!
You get to pick from the toy bucket.
Also, too, the whole thing about the returning the cup, do they guarantee me that I don't have to use somebody else's cup?
No, you will be using somebody else's cup. Those are recycled cups that they clean, I think. I don't think there's. Yeah, I don't think it sounded like you use your own cup. Most places, because of COVID, you can't do that.
I like
they don't let you bring your own cup in.
I like the Hayslip method. It's called doing dishes. we just do dishes. I got the best hand wash. I got the best dishwasher known to man. Did you know that? Right here.
Oh, I thought you were going to say your kids.
Right, that's how we wash dishes in the Hayslip household. Skywatch Storm Tracker, thunderstorm activity up to the north. Take Highway 54. Work up toward Kansas City. Lightning beginning to taper off on the west side of it, but it has been impressive throughout the course of our morning on the leading east side of the band. Also, too, this now moving into Jasper County. Lightning up, got a little heavy rain right there, but earlier when this thing came through Miami up through Cherokee County, it was raining a little bit hotter than what it is now, going to make its way toward Carthage. Have been able to lose the lightning on the last 5 minutes associated with that, but we've got more down here in northeast Oklahoma that's going to make its way up to the north. Cold front, look at that dividing line right there. So it's actually going to get cooler as we progress through our Wednesday. 69 degrees right now outside the mothership. We'll get down to about the low 60s, if not high 50s here later on for the afternoon hours. The thunderstorm activity eventually turns into scattered rain for the afternoon, and then we actually lighten up here and back into the 70s on Friday. Be back with more KOAM Morning News right after this. Welcome back to the KOAM Morning News. Earlier, we were fortunate enough on this Wildcat Wednesday to catch up with one, Donovan Fowler, and she was kind enough to come back and talk to us again. You know, earlier, Donovan, we were talking about people taking on new hobbies during the past year, during the pandemic, and I know one of the real popular ones during last summer were chickens. And
yes, chickens were very popular.
And why was that? Especially from a K-State research and extension perspective, why did chickens become so popular?
Well, I think one of the reasons chickens became so popular is people can have them in a variety of settings. You don't just have to live in the country to have chickens. Some town and city ordinances allow for folks to have a couple hens in their backyard. So that gave an opportunity for a lot of people to get chickens, even if they didn't have several acres out in the country. And they're an easy animal to start out with if someone is new to raising livestock. They're pretty easy when it comes to care and management. And of course, if you have kids, it's a lot of fun to start out with a few chicks and watch the chickens grow up and become full-size hens that start to lay eggs.
I want to pick up right there, because thanks in part to the Wildcat District and to Donovan, you're putting on a wonderful seminar. It's called From Egg to Chick. And with so many people taking on perhaps this new project and whatnot, and especially school children, what exactly can we glean from what you have coming up on April the 14th?
Yes, on April the 14th at 11 a.m., we're going to do the From Egg to Chick workshop, as you mentioned. And this workshop, we're going to cover how to set up the incubator. This incubator right here, I'm going to be setting up with a few eggs. This is a smaller incubator. It only holds 7 chicken eggs. And we're going to cover just the basics of how to set up an incubator, what you need to watch for throughout the incubating process, and then also considerations when you're getting those eggs to incubate. So this is a great opportunity for elementary school age children, or for anyone to join in with us to watch the incubating process. After the workshop, we're going to do weekly updates on Facebook Live so folks can follow along with us as we cover kind of the different stages of the incubating process after that incubator is set up to when the chicks hatch in a few weeks.
And once again, the K-State Research and Extension, their Facebook page, folks, and their Twitter page, Donovan's Twitter page, it's just so extensive with knowledge and whatnot. Donovan, I want to thank you for joining us. So once again, it's going to be Wednesday, April the 14th, from 11 to noon. If you're interested in going in person, that's going to be at Independence Community College. Once again, give Donovan a holler. Let her know, because space is limited. But if you're going to do it virtually, and remember, Donovan's going to give us virtual update. Can I ask you to come back on a Wildcat Wednesday and update us?
Yes, definitely. I would love to do that.
I would love to hear from you as well. Donovan Fowler from the Kansas State Research and Extension Wildcat District. Donovan, thank you so much. Best of luck to you, and great to see you again.
Thanks for having me on. It's great to see you as well.
All right, we'll be back with more KOAM Morning News right after this.
Topping Health Watch this morning, COVID-19 numbers are inching up across the U.S., even as millions are vaccinated against it every day. Experts say it's a race against variants of the virus. Naomi Ruckham reports from New York.
President Biden is speeding up the timeline for COVID-19 vaccine eligibility.
By no later than April 19th, in every part of this country, every adult over the age of 18 or older will be eligible to be vaccinated.
About a third of all Americans, 108 million people, have already received at least one dose. The White House had previously announced that all adults would be eligible by May 1st.
The virus is spreading because we have too many people who've seen the end in sight, think we're at the finish line already.
The change comes as coronavirus variants continue to spread. 9 states recently reported at least a 20% increase in cases.
We're really on the brink of a surge.
Dr. Anthony Fauci says the pandemic is at a critical stage.
Pulling back on mask mandates, they're pulling back on restrictions on capacity for restaurants and bars. It is premature to declare a victory.
Next week, FEMA will begin to reimburse families for COVID-19 victims' burial costs. The agency will cover up to $9,000 in funeral expenses. Naomi Ruckham, CBS News.
The U.S. has recorded more than 30 million confirmed COVID-19 cases to date and over 555,000 deaths. The day of the week you have surgery may impact how long you stay in the hospital. Researchers from the Cleveland Clinic looked at patients who underwent elective spinal surgery. They found patients whose operations were on Thursdays and Fridays stayed 20 to 30% longer in the hospital than patients whose procedures were on Mondays and Tuesdays. The American College of Physicians is suggesting a shorter course of antibiotics for for some common bacterial infections. Sorry, my script disappeared. Some of the infections include certain types of pneumonia and urinary tract infections. ACP says at least 30% of antibiotic use in the U.S. is unnecessary. That's a look at some of today's top health stories. You're watching the KOAM Morning News.
Let's jump to the Skywatch Storm Tracker and look at our thunderstorm activity as we take Highway 54, move to the north. That lightning now pushing northeast of the 4 states. We've still got scattered showers behind it. And then as we transition down to the south, starting to pick up rain in between Joplin and Neosho as well. That one sans lightning, but look at what's down to the south right there. So if you got to take I-49 any place, know that you're going to run into it at some form or fashion. Temperatures dropping down to the mid-60s by the noon hour. Back with more KOAM Morning News right after this.
Four-staters make their voices heard in municipal election day. We'll have the latest results. Plus, police ask for the public's help in finding 3 missing teens in Joplin. And the Joplin Police Department releases its annual crime report, why officials say they're concerned about a decrease in domestic violence reports.
The 4 states' most watched news starts now.
Good morning and welcome to the KOAM Morning News. It's 6:30. I'm Tanya Bach. A chance of rain throughout the morning for many of us, and some of us are getting quite a bit of it. Here's Michael with a check of your forecast.
That is exactly right, Tanya. Let's go ahead and focus on the northern portion of the 4 states. Take that line of Highway 54 that runs east-west from Missouri into Kansas. You go north of there, especially along I-49, headed up toward Kansas City. Heavy rain and lightning. Now, we're starting to taper off on the west side of that. And as we transition down to the south, we see rain in between Joplin and Neosho. We've been able to take that and really lighten it up from where it was about 15 minutes ago. But now we've got lightning down to the south, also on I-49. That's kind of our I don't want to call it a problematic area, but the area of concentration is along that north-south line on the interstate. Our temperatures ranging anywhere from almost 70 degrees in Joplin to the mid-50s in Iola and Yates Center. I want to focus in on Chanute specifically, not to pick on the Blue Comet Pride right there, but just half an hour ago, it was about 70 degrees. Now it's down to 60. Gives you an idea of how fast this is going to drop as the front rolls through. So our temperatures as we work toward the noon hour do progress downward. Do have afternoon showers and an uptick in the wind. Now what that will do, however, is take the thunderstorm activity, dispatch it out to the east, and we'll do more just common April showers that are going to be scattered through the afternoon. That's crazy looking at Chanute. That's kind of what I've been tracking all morning long, because I saw Iola and Yates Center take that big dip, but we kind of started the show and didn't really have anything to graphically point out at that point in time. Chanute's a perfect example. From 70 to 60.
You did say yesterday, once this storm moves through, that it's going to drop. It's
going
to get cold.
It's going to get chilled. When we were doing our Wildcat Wednesday interview with the Daven, I walked outside and I could feel the wind because it got calm on me when I was outside. I was like, Here we go. Wind's about to shift on us.
We're just missing the rain right here.
We have been lucky.
I'm not going to complain.
No offense to those of you in the north and those of you to the south of the station. Did you have raindrops on the car though when you woke up?
I did not.
Really?
That I noticed anyway, no.
Yeah, we had overnight light rain in our neck of the woods.
Huh, might have just missed it.
But it was nothing to write home about.
All right, thanks, Michael. Taxes, school issues, and municipal races brought voters to the polls yesterday in some Missouri and Oklahoma communities. We're going to start in Nevada, Missouri, where a couple of school issues were on the ballot. Both received more than 4/7 majority needed to pass. $13.75 million proposal will increase property taxes to fund school repairs throughout the district. It passed by more than 2-to-1 margin. Also on the ballot in Carl Junction, a proposal to impose a use tax on some out-of-state purchases equal to the current local sales tax. It would have applied when annual purchases exceed $2,000, but more than 60% of voters said no to that idea. Jasper County residents vote yes to imposing a sales tax for the purpose of stormwater control and local parks. And voters in Neosho, Missouri narrowly rejected a similar use tax proposal. The vote was 468 no to 438 yes. We'll have more area election results throughout the morning. You can find the latest results and your complete results on our website at koamnewsnow.com/elections. A liberal Missouri man is charged with first-degree involuntary manslaughter after a fatal crash in February. The Missouri Highway Patrol said 44-year-old Ryan O'Neill drove a pickup southbound on Highway 43, 2 miles north of Joplin. According to the report, O'Neill crashed head-on into an SUV driven by 23-year-old Sevy Davison of Oronogo. Davison was pronounced dead at Mercy Hospital. At last report, authorities had not yet arrested O'Neill. He'll face a $50,000 cash bond on that involuntary manslaughter charge. 3 teenage girls have run away from an undisclosed location in Jasper County. The missing girls are 14-year-old Alexis Crawford of Phelps County, 16-year-old Morgan Holderman of Clay County, and 14-year-old Jasmine Marie Holliday of Putnam County. The Jasper County Sheriff's Office is currently working to find them. Jasper County Sheriff Randy Kaiser says they have detectives following up on leads based on sightings of the girls.
Just providing some information on other, possible leads that we can follow up on. And that's really where we're at right now, is just trying to, find acquaintances and friends of where they might be at and go into those locations and looking for them.
Sheriff's Department has been in contact with the families of the missing teens to get information on possible leads. They're mainly trying to reach out to friends and acquaintances of the missing teens. 3 girls are believed to be together. Anyone with information should call 911 or the Jasper County Sheriff's Office. Total crime in the city of Joplin is down for 2020, which officials say the pandemic played a part in. But there's one statistic that dropped that's causing concern. KOAM's Chris Warner has more.
We've seen a reduction overall in crimes. We saw a reduction of about 9% total crime this year.
Joplin Police Chief Sloan Rowland says the pandemic and lockdowns played a role in reducing overall crime in the city.
Just a lot of less people were out on the street driving, and having contact with our officers. So it was definitely a different year.
There was one number they were watching closely.
Originally we thought we would see a rise in domestic violence incidents. We actually saw a drop.
Chief Rowland says that's raised concern on their end.
Several national schools have thought on that, or whether they're being reported as much as they were before or coming into the light, like with, being locked at home. A lot of people aren't seeing as many incidents of child abuse and domestic violence and things as when they're going to school or they're out in the public.
It's also come to the attention of the Lafayette House. Executive Director Susan Hickman says during the initial lockdown last year, their phones pretty much stopped ringing.
With the government shutdown, that actually played directly into the hands of an abuser. Isolation is what they are the primary goal.
She says some of that may have come from people thinking the Lafayette House wasn't open during the pandemic. Hickman says they never shut down, but didn't see a pickup in calls until the community began to reopen.
Once things started to reopen, one thing that we did notice is that the people who did reach out, the abuse was actually more severe, and we were seeing larger families.
Hickman also says the lockdown itself could have led to new domestic violence situations.
When you have different tensions that you're not used to, and you don't have that out that you normally have, there's some of those stresses are going to come out in a different way.
In Joplin, Chris Warner, KOAM News.
Hickam says if you or someone you know is in need of assistance, to contact your local law enforcement agency or the Lafayette House immediately. That's a look at our top news stories. Coming up this half hour on the KOAM Morning News, Derek Chauvin's trial resumes today.
More police officers testify in the trial of Derek Chauvin. I'm Naomi Ruckham with their scrutiny of the restraint used against George Floyd and what happens in the courtroom today.
Plus, for our Something to Talk About, we're asking, do you drink beer? If so, what's your brew of choice? We let you weigh in, but first, it's 6:37.
Reemergence of lightning here just on the west side of Fort Scott. Now, it's just a lone strike, but an idea that it could pick back up. And as we transition down to the south, now we're starting to roll through Mack County with very heavy rain and additional lightning. Be back with more KOAM Morning News right after this.
Topping Nation Watch this morning, the trial for the former Minneapolis police officer charged with the death of George Floyd resumes this morning. Yesterday's testimony focused on the restraint Derek Chauvin used during the arrest. Naomi Ruckham shows us what's happening inside and outside the courtroom.
As the trial for Derek Chauvin moves into its 8th day, crews have replaced the fence surrounding the Minnesota Capitol building. This one more secure than the fence quickly installed last May when protests escalated. Inside the courtroom, more officers came forward to testify against Chauvin and his actions the day he pinned George Floyd to the pavement for nearly 9.5 minutes.
Sir, is this an MPD trained neck restraint?
No, sir.
Has it ever been?
Not to my neck restraint, no, sir.
Records and court testimony show Chauvin received extensive training on the appropriate use of neck restraints. One instructor told the jury Minneapolis police are taught to stay away from the neck when possible and to restrain with a knee on the back or shoulder if necessary. Another use of force expert testified that Chauvin's actions were excessive.
Once he was placed in the prone position on the ground, they should have slow down or stop their force as well.
Also central to the defense's case, possible testimony from Maurice Hall. Hall, a friend of Floyd's, was sitting in the SUV when officers approached last May. His lawyer says he wants to avoid testifying so he doesn't incriminate himself. Back outside the courthouse.
We get the verdict and we get this conviction, we'll be able to breathe.
Floyd's family and supporters gathered for a prayer vigil as the case presses on. Naomi Ruckham, CBS News.
A total of 9 Minneapolis police officers have now testified against Chauvin, swearing under oath that he went too far. Today, some of the officers who were called to testify yesterday will reappear on the stand for further questioning and cross-examination. President Biden moved the deadline requiring states to allow all adults to qualify for coronavirus vaccines from May 1st to April 19th. 150 million doses have been administered so far in the U.S. 80% of teachers, school staff, and child care workers have received at least one dose. The president also toured a vaccination site in Virginia. That's a look at today's top national stories. Let's check back in with Michael for our Something to Talk About.
Thank you, Tanya. KOAM News Now Facebook page. It happens to be National Beer Day. Asking if you partake and what is your favorite. We'll continue our comments with Guy Hansen, who says, quote, beer is the answer. I don't remember the question. Thank you. Michael Houlihan, Hefeweizen. You rednecks don't know anything about that? Yeah, what, Michael? We do. Just more wheat. That's what Hefeweizen's about. More wheat. Rocky Cunningham says, I've been a Keystone Light man for years, but only 3 days a week. Yesterday, today, and tomorrow. Love you, Aunt Pat. We love you, Aunt Pat. Glenn Ritchie says, yeah, Bud Light, man. Good morning, KOAM News Team. Good morning, KOAM Country. Good morning, Glenn. And Becky Mangarelli says, love all the choices of craft beers available thanks to small breweries. Can't pick just one. IPAs and sours are Becky's favorite. As far as our morning Insta poll goes this morning, about 50-50. There we go. On the move right now. 54% of you say not a beer drinker. 46% say yes. Make your voice heard. You can go to KOAMnewsnow.com/vote. We're going to come back and celebrate birthdays and anniversaries right after this.
We take this time to honor today's four-state hero, Colonel William Hood, who served in the United States Army. He served from 1942 to 1952 during World War II and in Korea. His hometown, Pittsburgh, Kansas. We are proud to salute William Hood, our four-state hero.
Start the old birthday list off the MBM. What a cool picture right there. Mac Var Miller celebrating his 4th birthday. That's pretty cool, Mac. Good looking picture, my man. He is the big number 4.
All right, and we've got Madeline Midget turning 6 years old this year. Wow, she's growing up in Chautauqua.
Elliot Huser, she is celebrating her 7th birthday. Elliot, I want you to have a marvelous, marvelous day. She's in Fredonia.
Love the Huser family out in Fredonia. Happy birthday, Elliot. And we've got Nahilea Pissarro, turning 13 years old this year in Girard.
Kristen Norris, party on as the big 21 is upon us. A happy birthday to Kristen in Pittsburgh.
Cameron Leon Edwards celebrating birthday number 22 this year.
That is not what he looks like currently.
What a wonderful throw. He was
a cute kid.
His mom says, love you, Cameron.
Oh, Mom got you good, Cameron.
Oh, wow.
She got you good, sending that one in. Oh, that was awesome. Lindsay McDonald, she is celebrating her 39th birthday. I like that picture. Very happy birthday to Lindsay in Quapaw. This comes with love from Mom, Dad, and the dolls.
Welcome to the Dirty 39. And then we've got Jenny Sherman celebrating birthday.
Saying it.
I did. Hey, we passed it. Jenny Sherman is 64 years old. Looking great there, Jenny in Joplin.
Hey, our good friend Connie White is celebrating her 67th birthday. Connie, a very happy birthday to you in Lamar. And, of course, that gentleman on the right there, that's Gary. They're celebrating their 35th anniversary as well. And it goes to show you that, yeah, Gary knew what he was doing. A little pre-planning. And I know what you're, go ahead, Tanya, because I always say it's good planning.
It's great if you remember.
You're always worried about somebody ending up in a doghouse.
But if you miss, it's a double miss.
I know, but Gary, that's how good Gary is. Let's put it this way. Gary was smart enough to marry Connie.
Very true.
Okay, so yeah, I mean, he's a smart dude right there. Congratulations, Gary and Connie.
All right, and we've got Mike Bruton celebrating birthday number 68 in Joplin. Hope it's a great one, Mike.
Susan Tubaugh, she's celebrating her 71st birthday. A very happy birthday to you, Miss Susan in Jasper.
All right, our birthday list goes on. In Joplin, Stacy Harmon celebrating another year wiser. And here's an anniversary for the Grills. Orville and Lisa. Michael's slamming his hand on his desk, wondering where your picture is. Orville and Lisa are celebrating 43 years of wedded bliss in Frontenac.
Orville and Lisa, congratulations. You know, I like to pick on people that we know, that, you know, maybe don't get to the picture thing, but no, congratulations to both Orville and Lisa. Marvelous, marvelous people right there. Happy birthday, happy anniversary to all. Here's Tanya Bach with a very important birthday announcement.
That's right. You can be a part of the KOAM Birthday Club. All you have to do is go to our website and sign up, and once you do, you'll get special deals from local businesses. Go to KOAMnewsnow.com. Sign up for the KOAM Birthday Club today.
Couple more Facebook comments here. John Trebian goes with the natty. Couple a day keeps the doctor away. He says, good morning, KOM, good morning, America. We say, good morning, John. Now, Roy D. Mercer, you're a big old boy, but I hope this was a copy and paste job. This Justin Moore song is a good song called Why We Drink. Roy, now I got it stuck in my head. That's the problem with it. Buck Thomas, free beer. Probably get droves of people if you were to offer up free beer on National Beer Day. Don't you think, Tanya? See you at 4:30. Terry Leeper says Miller High Life in a bottle. Sheila Wood goes with Sam Adams. And Philip Aaron, my two favorite kinds of beer are ice cold and free.
Hey, beer bucket specials are basically buy 5, get 1 free.
Philip, I'll see you at 4:30 as well. Tanya.
All right, here's a check of today's top headlines, the news you need to know before you head out the door. President Biden moved the deadline requiring states to allow all adults to qualify for coronavirus vaccines from May 1st to April 19th. 150 million doses have been administered so far in the U.S. 80% of teachers, school staff, and child care workers have received at least 1 dose. The president also toured a vaccination site in Virginia. Liberal Missouri man is charged with first-degree involuntary manslaughter after a fatal crash in February. The Missouri Highway Patrol said 44-year-old Ryan O'Neill drove a pickup southbound on Highway 43, 2 miles north of Joplin, and that O'Neill crashed head-on into an SUV driven by 23-year-old Sevy Davison of Oronogo. Davison was pronounced dead at Mercy Hospital. At last report, authorities had not yet arrested O'Neill. He'll face a $50,000 cash bond on that involuntary manslaughter charge. 3 teenage girls have run away from an undisclosed location in Jasper County. The missing girls are 14-year-old Alexis Crawford of Phelps County, Missouri, 16-year-old Morgan Holderman of Clay County, Missouri, and 14-year-old Jasmine Marie Holliday of Putnam County, Missouri. Jasper County Sheriff's Office is currently working to find them. Jasper County Sheriff Randy Kaiser says they have detectives following up on leads based on sightings of the girls. Joplin Police Department releases its annual report, which shows crime is down overall in the city. Chief Roland Sloan says they saw an overall 9% drop in crime in 2020. 2 of the biggest drops were traffic related. There were increases in violent crime in the city, such as homicides and assaults. However, there was a decrease in reports of domestic violence, which has caused concern. That's a check of today's top headlines, the news you need to know before you head out the door.
Thunderstorm activity one more time as we take a look at up to the north. The majority of the lightning has moved off to the east, but now around Mound City, right on Highway 69, we've got the heavy rain moving toward I-49. And as we transition down to the south, we're really seeing things pick up through portions of McDonald County. Not only the lightning, but extremely heavy rain as well, pushing just on the other side of 49/71 down through northwest Arkansas. It's going to be one of those days where the showers are going to stick around after the thunderstorms are done. We'll turn it into scattered rain this afternoon. Temperatures continuing to drop. We'll see 50s. Excuse me, got choked up there. Cold front was so big. We'll see 50s later on this afternoon before we kind of hang out in the 60s to finish off the day.
Well, Michael, do you like mashed potatoes?
Lord, I'm a sucker for mashed potatoes.
Do you like lasagna?
That's a long story that I don't have time to get into.
Well, you're going to love what we're making today at noon in the Mr. Food Test Kitchen. It's called pierogi lasagna.
You know I love pierogies.
I know you do.
Oh, that was a good one right there. Wave of Gene, I love your mashed potatoes as well. Morning news continues on KOAM. CBS Morning News coming up next. We'll continue to update our thunderstorm activity on Fox 14 as we transition over there in just a second. Have a wonderful, safe Wednesday. We'll do this all again tomorrow.
And we're going to do it again today at noon.